Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello and welcome to another special Between Takes episode of Missing Frames. I'm your host, Shawn Eastridge, and yes, this is finally the end of my Sundance 2020 film coverage. The festival was an absolute blast, and I hope you've enjoyed listening to all these different interviews, the red carpets, all this stuff. If you have enjoyed it, you can let me know. I'm on Twitter at YayShawnDoorman. You can even find me on Instagram at ShawnDoorman. Or if you really love me, you can give this show a 5-star rating on iTunes and even write a review. I'll read your review on a future episode. But as much as it might pain me that the coverage is finally coming to an end, I really can't think of a better way to bring the Sundance experience to a close than with this episode. On my last evening at Sundance, I met up with Brad and Lisa Gullickson of the In the Mouth of Darkness podcast and the Comic Book Couples Counseling podcast. They're wonderful people. They're dear friends. Brad has been on the show before. Lisa, there's an open invitation for you, so whenever you're ready to be on Missing Frames, just let me know. So we met up on my last evening in Utah, and we were just like, let's just record an episode about our experiences, the films we've seen, our favorite moments. So we talk about all that stuff, and I might be biased, but I think it's a great conversation, and it was such a pleasure getting to hang out with Lisa and Brad. Just a heads up, we recorded this in a very, very busy bar, so you will feel like you're right there with us in the environment without the food. But if you want to grab like a plate of fries or something, you can totally act like you are in this conversation. But again, thank you so much for listening, for all the positive feedback and the support. And yeah, hope you enjoy this episode. Thank you again.
Now available to own on video cassette.
I'm recording right now.
Yours is probably going to be way better than mine.
Well, I will give it to you for a price.
We don't mean to recorder shame you.
Yeah, but your recorder is definitely more fancy.
It's an H1 and Zoom.
Mine's a iPhone XR? I don't even know.
Overseas, and I caught H1X Zune.
No,
and I was bleeding from the eyes for a
You know what
week.
the grandma from Minari would say about that is that your ding dong is broken.
Yes.
Hey, speaking of Minari,
yes.
We're at Sundance right now. Whoa, what is happening? So this is wonderful. I'm so glad. This is the first time Lisa, you've been on anything
true.
related to Missing Frames.
I'm so excited to be
You've been
here.
mentioned a couple times.
You have, and this is the first, always in a positive context.
Good.
I just want to stress.
Yes.
And Brad, this is the first time we've recorded in person.
This is the first time I've ever recorded from Sundance also.
Well, this is a lot of...
You're right. That's right. In person, that's a bigger deal because we worked together way back when.
Yes.
But then you left me for Atlanta, and we really became friends through the internet and podcasting.
It's true. But you know what? Something I keep forgetting about is that your review of Zatoichi made me buy the box set without having seen a single Zatoichi movie.
Accurate. I'm okay that you call it Zatoichi too, but that's fine.
Zatoichi.
There you go.
But,
That's a huge commitment. That is a monetary brick.
I have not watched. I've watched about a third of them, and I love all of them. And I always I kind of tag out.
Well, there's a lot of them, and guess what? I haven't finished that box set yet either.
I need to keep going.
But you made a comment earlier today. We went and saw Minari at the Sundance International Film Festival 2020, hashtag Sundance 2020. We went and saw Minari together, me and you, and I was like, all right, Shawn, first selfie of Sundance together. We took our selfie, and you're like, Brad, this is the first time we've ever watched a movie together.
Yeah. In the same space, because we've talked about movies and we've watched them together, but not really. You didn't see it, people, but I did air quotes around watched, because we've never actually. That was the first movie we've seen together.
Yeah, and what a great movie too.
What a fantastic movie! What a good first. But how? So you guys have been here before. This is my first Sundance. This is your second. How do you think this fares compared to the first one?
Weather-wise, much better. It's been a lot warmer. It hasn't been as slushy. And film-wise, I feel like the overall quality, I find it has been better.
My highs are I have more highs this year than I have last year. I watched nearly twice as many films last year than this year.
How many have you watched this year?
Let me check my letterbox. I believe it is 22 if we count the one short film.
Let's count it.
All right, yeah, it's 22.
Wow. It's hard because we've kind of discussed it, but you really have to pick what you want to do and trying to coordinate all of it. Like if in our case, since we're all working press, we have opportunities to interview, we have opportunities to write about films, we have opportunities to watch films. And it's like, but then it's like there are panels, there are mixers, there's so many different things happening that like, unless you really, really plan it out, and even if you do, it's just like too much.
It may or may not work out.
It may or may not work out.
We have been locked out of more films this year. Well, 2. I was locked out of 2 films.
I was locked out of 3 films.
So I think maybe the press pool is becoming a little larger, but I also think that the buzz around films, certain films is a lot stronger, where, like Dopes, the entire press body finds itself at the same screening going like, why can't we all get in?
So Palm Springs, I feel like, has been the most talked about film this festival and has made it impossible to get into for a working press member. And for your listeners who may not know what we're talking about when we say working press, there are 2 tiers. Actually, there's 3 tiers. There's Express Press. That's hard to say. There's Express Press, which means they show up, they get to go in, no wait whatsoever. Right. There's General Press, which gets to show up 30 minutes before the film and go in. And then there's Working Press, and if the Express Press and the General Press haven't already filled up the auditorium 5 minutes before the film starts, we lowly Titanic lower deck people get to stumble into the theater and take up the first 2 rows.
Yes, the remaining seats.
But there's nothing to boo-hoo about because we still got to see so many movies. And then Brad and I are staying until Sunday. And
so there's more to come. This is my last night in Sundance. I know.
Yesterday was our first 5-film day. And we ate that shit up.
Yeah, we did. Because when Thursday hits, all the cool kids leave. All the big time
major press people.
The industry leaves.
Yeah. They're all getting ready for the Oscars, and now we can get into pretty much anything.
They got to go report on the Super Bowl.
Is the Super Bowl happening?
Yeah.
Who's in it?
Who's in the Super Bowl?
I honestly couldn't tell you.
Okay.
I think the Chiefs are in it?
Yes, Chiefs are, because Brad Pitt wore that Chiefs hat at the Oscar thing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Now that we know who's playing in the Super Bowl,
and who sat out in gym.
So what have we seen? What have you guys seen that you've really enjoyed? What are your favorites of the festival so far? I think honestly right now, Minari is definitely a top for me.
Yeah, Minari's I don't think is my number 1, but it could be my number 1. I really have to think about it.
I saw Minari early in the festival. I saw it on the 27th.
Okay.
And I just fell in love with that movie. It's a Korean-American film. The pacing...
What is the writer-director's name?
I got you here. You keep talking, Lisa.
Lee Chung, something.
No, Lee. Yeah, you're right.
Lee Isaac Chung.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And it co-stars Stephen Yeun as the father.
Yeah.
And it actually has a lot of autobiographical elements with the director, which I found very interesting. Yes. So it's about this little kid, David. He is 7 years old.
He has a broken ding-dong.
He has a broken ding-dong. He moves to rural Arkansas, so his dad can be a farmer.
He wets the bed, guys. He doesn't actually have a broken ding-dong.
But what I loved about this film is that it's very deliberately paced. It really takes its time. And it has all of these different story elements where you see David observing his father, observing his mother, and then there is his grandmother who, when he meets her, he's like, you're not like a real grandmother, because real grandmothers, they bake cookies. Real grandmothers, they don't swear or gamble. And you don't really know how all of these disparate storylines are going to relate together. But when at the end of the movie, at the climax of the film, the way all of these parts so beautifully fit together into such a cohesive message profoundly moved me.
Yeah.
And because I saw it so early in the festival, I was like looking at people are like, what's your favorite of the fest? What's your favorite of the fest? And I kept on going, like, for this entire trip, I've been saying Minari. Now I have another film that's in contention. So I'm very excited about that, but I was like, did I have the like Sundance colored glasses as one of the first films I saw it being my favorites, but having you guys see it today, you saw it today?
We both saw it today.
And having loved it, like, it just really warms my heart.
Yes.
Yeah, it's coming from A24. They're going to get a big push on it. I think it's going to bring a lot of eyes to it. I hope it does well when it gets released.
I hope it does too. Minari, it almost had a little bit of like Malik vibes for me in terms of it had this kind of visual poetry that I thought, well, maybe this
Magic
movie's...
Hour.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a little bit more... is esoteric the right word? A little more cerebral, but then it like really grabs you and pulls you into this very personal, emotional story.
This story of Mr. Yi wanting to build his garden, his farm, right? And what that means to do, like, especially in 1980s America, to compete against the Purdue chicken factories and all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's a nearly impossible task, and it requires so much sacrifice of time and energy, and it is a commitment on every family member. And yeah, so I related to it as like a grandson, a great-grandson of Norwegians who came to this country to do that in North Dakota. And it's a miracle to me that anybody can make that work. And it's an even bigger miracle to think that somebody in the 80s can make that work.
Yeah, seriously. Lisa, you said you have another top contender for favorite film of the festival. What is this? What could possibly be better than Minari?
It's a film called 9 Days.
Yeah, 9 Days is one that's been getting a lot of buzz around here, and I have not had a chance to see it. I guess I won't get a chance to see it.
Well, what it's about... Oh, that makes me sad.
But I mean, unless it gets a release.
I hope it does.
Yeah.
Oh, it will.
It will?
It stars Winston Duke, Zazie Beetz, Benedict Wong.
Okay.
It's going to get a release.
All right.
But it's about... Winston Duke is... it's hard to explain.
Yeah, because don't spoil it.
Well, it's just a really beautiful film about really being appreciative of the life that you have. And it tells that story in a really magical way.
I think, like, right now in this country, on this planet, despair is a real thing. And this film confronts despair in a really beautiful way.
And living your life well. And going like, well, what is a well-lived life?
Yeah, so there's like a magical realism quality to it. And that's all we'll say. You'll know what it is the minute it starts. Yeah. And I don't know how they're going to be able to market this film in any way without revealing what it is.
Right.
But that's the great thing about coming to Sundance, right? Is you walk into the theater, you're like, oh, it's got Winston Duke, Zazie Beetz, and Benedict Wong. I'll watch this. And suddenly you're like, oh, I did not know what this movie was about.
That's what's nice too is, well, it's good to hear that because now I know if it does start to get a wider release and it is released in any means, if there's a trailer or anything, I'll know to avoid it and try to go in as blind as possible.
I don't think it's a movie that if you know the premise, it ruins the experience, but it was just kind of magical to watch it the way that we did.
In anticipation, I read through like all of the little plot synopses on the original like Sundance announcement email. So like it's like a one-line synopsis, and I could sum up this movie in one line. But to me, it didn't spoil the movie going in knowing what it was about loosely.
Gotcha.
But it's definitely one that is fun to just kind of give yourself over to. It's very meditative.
Okay.
And it's a movie that really nails the landing.
The final scene with... At the beginning of the movie, like I think of Winston Duke. I think of him from the MCU, where he has so much charisma. He is so much larger than life. So when I saw him at the opening of this movie, sitting at a desk, being so internal, being so pensive,
you almost don't expect that from him.
I didn't recognize him.
Yeah.
I forgot that he was in the film until you started to see him open up and let that charisma out. And I thought that the arc he created with this character from where he began to where he ends his film is gorgeous.
And Brad, what about you? What's another favorite?
I mean, you know the answer because we've talked about it.
I know the answer. It's so weird because I saw this film, and when it ended, I applauded. I was like, this is my favorite film of the festival, without a doubt. But every person I've talked to and the majority of the tweets that I have seen around this film are trashing the movie. But it's Tesla, the Ethan Hawke film where he plays Nikolai Tesla, and it focuses on his battle with Edison and the current war, a good portion of it. It's directed by Michael Almereyda. I think
it's Almereyda.
Thank you, Almereyda. No, I still can't do it.
He corrected somebody on the red carpet. I was just lucky enough to be in the vicinity to hear him pronounce his name.
Good. He's directed Hawke in the past with an adaptation of Hamlet.
And Kyle MacLachlan was in a movie with Ethan Hawke that he directed as well.
Yes. And so Kyle MacLachlan plays Edison. Tesla is Hawke. Jim Gaffigan plays Westinghouse. And it's about this genius who knows he can, save the world through technology, and that his engine is going to revolutionize everything. And it should be free, and it should be for the people. But this is a capitalist society. He's a terrible economist. He's a terrible businessman, and he gets ground up in the gears, right? Now, the way that it's directed is very theatrical. All the writing or all the dialogue that Hawke provides is from Tesla himself. So it has an awkward quality to it. But to me, it was like watching a play.
What's your favorite, Shawn?
I'm not done.
I'm so sorry. I was so excited.
I'm not done.
Lisa knows where the priorities of this episode are. As long as Lisa and I get to tell our favorite movies.
That's right.
That's really what matters.
And in the process of the film, he finds ways to tie the past to the present. And you either think that's dumb or you think it's brilliant. And it crescendos with the most magnificent thing I've seen all Sundance. And I applaud. And no matter what you hear about this movie, just give it your eyes.
All right. I really want to see it, if for no other reason than my boy Ethan, giving him all my support. But my favorite movies of the fest, I think Minari, absolutely. And then probably my other favorite might be And Then We Danced.
This is one we haven't seen.
Which is the best way to describe it. I saw someone on Twitter describe it as Call Me By Your Name meets Whiplash.
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to watch that movie.
It's not quite... J.K. Simmons is not yelling at anybody in this movie. Nobody's yelling
Bang
at anybody, really.
Bang on that peach.
But it's basically this guy doing this. I think it's the Georgian dance, a very masculine dance, and he becomes sort of fast. This new male dancer comes into the group, and it's kind of a rivalry that then sort of becomes a romance. But I knew from the get-go I was going to love it because the sincerity of it, and there are these little character beats that are so very human and simple and heartfelt that I was right from the get-go. I was I know I'm going to enjoy this, and thankfully the movie maintains that throughout. It's very I love Call Me By Your Name. That's that's a very I don't know if this. I almost feel like Call Me By Your Name kind of stole this movie's thunder a little bit. I think a lot of people are going to be like, it's no Call Me By Your Name, as I'm doing right now. But I think this is absolutely, should be in the conversation, should be up there, and does its own thing without needing to be beholden to, Call Me By Your Name's the other gay movie, so this is just lumped in with that. This movie has its own identity, and the dancing brings a really, that whiplash quality of, these people struggling to do something meaningful through their art. I really, really loved it, and I thought it was absolutely fantastic.
Well, I'm definitely putting that on my radar. We might be able to see it before the weekend's out.
If you can, I highly recommend it. And then another one I really loved that I just saw out of nowhere, my friend Trisha Aran, who is with the Lessons from the Screenplay team and the Beyond the Screenplay podcast, she was standing in line with this filmmaker. I think it's I don't remember her last name. It's Frederique Migom, I want to say. Farican. I'm probably pronouncing that completely wrong. She's just standing in line with her, and she mentioned, oh yeah, I have a film at the festival. It's called Binti. Here, have some tickets. And Trisha put me in contact with this director. It's like, well, yeah, I'll go see the movie, and maybe I'll chat with the director about it. And it's basically a kid's film, and it's about this young girl who's she's like an aspiring YouTube personality. She's just hit 1,000 subscribers, and she wants to be like a big star. And she and her father are in the country illegally, and they're kind of hiding out. And they get into a situation where the police invade their living space, and they have to escape. And they end up living with this really kind mother and her little boy. And this little boy, I can't remember the name of the animal, but he has this cause, like he wants to save this animal that's like going extinct. It's a distant relation of the giraffe. And he's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. And he doesn't have the means to raise funds for it because nobody cares. So through meeting this girl, Binti, she's like, well, I'll help you raise money for this cause, and also through my videos and my internet expertise, and also if your mom marries my dad, maybe we'll get immigration papers and can stay here. It was so heartfelt, so wonderful and moving, and had a beautiful message, and that is also, I'd say, those are probably in contention for my top.
That is what I love about Sundance, because I've literally heard no one speak of that movie, and now you've made me want to see it and seek it out.
I do. I don't know if it's already done its last screening, but if you do get the chance, please do. It is so charming. And it's tough. It's a Dutch film. It has subtitles, so the director was talking about how do you market that in America? It's a kids movie with subtitles.
Yeah.
The answer is you probably don't, and it probably won't get a wide release or even a limited release here, and it's unfortunate.
Well, that's because it's on you, Shawn.
I know. This is it happening. The change is happening.
Yeah.
Shifting the tide. Teach your kids to read, people.
That's right.
Listen to
Bong Joon-ho.
Learn to read subtitles.
Yeah. You mentioned that you did some red carpets, and so that's that's a big deal. And I know you talked to at least one really rad human being.
Yes.
What was your red carpet experience like, Shawn?
So I got to go to Tesla, the red carpet, even though I haven't seen the movie. And my whole goal was I have to have an exchange with Ethan Hawke. Anyone who knows me knows that the Before trilogy, those are my favorite movies. And Before Sunrise premiered at Sundance 25 years ago. Not only that, the day of the Tesla red carpet was the day of its premiere. So I was like, something is in the air. Something's going to happen. I hope I get to ask him some questions about Tesla, but
you fall in love. You go for a long walk.
Exactly.
You spend the night
Ethan
together.
and I are going to just walk around town, have some heartfelt,
He has been
intense,
walking around town,
and
he's on the jury.
I've missed him every time. I'm hoping maybe my last night here.
We did not get our Hawk encounter.
Yeah.
But you did.
I did.
You got to ask him a cue.
We were looking. So the red carpets for people who have not done red carpets, it's just chaos. You are lucky to get any questions in. And the worst part is it's all superficial because most of the time you haven't seen the movie. Right. So you were saying, tell me about your character. Brad has a better method of you go for what's the theme of the movie, or tell me.
Well, I did it once last year after fumbling my first red carpet. But the idea is you come up with what your theme of your article is going to be, and you ask every person the same couple of questions so that you can have them write your article for you.
And that's brilliant. And since I don't have articles to write, I'm basically going with, all right, the interviews are the content I'm releasing. It's very, very hard. When you don't know what the movies are, when you don't know who the people are, or what their characters are, you're literally just tell me what you're doing, which is also the question every other person has asked me.
Right.
It's very hard to have a meaningful exchange or conversation. For Tesla was the busiest red carpet I went to, and it was just so many people. Press people were showing up late and shoving their way into the line. It was already looking like Ethan was going to get rushed out the door, and it got to the point where Ethan was talking to the person right next to me, and then the publicist was like, all right, we got to go. Ethan can't talk to anyone. But Ethan was awesome and kept talking to people, and he was right about to get rushed out the door, and I only had room for one question. And I'm probably going to release the audio of it as well.
Well, you have to. You played it for me. You have to.
I could even cut into it right now.
Dude, you should cut it into this.
I'll cut it into this.
Cut it in.
I'll cut it in right now. Ethan, you and I have a mutual friend.
Who's that?
You know the best-selling author Jesse Wallace?
Yes.
He's a great guy.
Yeah,
I have a special relationship with him, but I don't see him. I see him like once every decade.
Yeah, me too. I see him about every 9 years.
Yeah. How do you think he's doing? Is he doing all right?
Yeah, he's
he and
doing
Selena
great.
doing okay?
Yeah.
25 years ago.
I know, right here.
That's amazing. I wish I also had video because the look on his face, just the like, I know him, yeah. And then I was like, I only see him once every 9 years. He's like, yeah, me too. I go, how's he doing? Are he and Selena okay? And Ethan reaches out. I'm gonna put my phone down.
Oh, we're touching.
And you'll hear it in the audio if you go back. There's a little slap.
Okay.
Ethan grabbed my hand and he did that.
Oh my
and
God.
It was.
And then you went
Magic.
full erect.
And then I was
and you just
fully
shot all
erect.
over the place.
That was absolutely 100% what happened.
That's
But that
what we
was
wanted to happen.
that was really special. I'm so glad I got that little moment.
Hawk is so good in Tesla.
I believe he's good in everything, even like the stuff that doesn't deserve his goodness.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then I think I mentioned this in an earlier episode I did with the Beyond the Screenplay people. I say people as if I don't know, like my good friends Trisha and Alex with Beyond the Screenplay. But hanging out with the Vanishing Angle team, the production company. This is Jim Cummings, Natalie Metzger, some amazing people. They did Beast to Beast this year at the festival. But getting to hang out with them and meet them, they're the sweetest people. Very they would take the time to chat with me. They'd invite me to their like little parties. Had no reason to do that, but they were so like kind and friendly that was a real highlight for me as well.
Shawn's had like the full Sundance experience.
It's been
like,
great.
He's gone out partying with celebrities, dancing.
I met
hear.
the director of Palm Springs, which is great. The one thing I haven't done as much of that I wish I could have is watch movies. You guys have basically cornered the market on movie watching at Sundance, and I've kind of...
Like I said, we've done half of what we did last year.
Yeah.
I mean, the first half of this Sundance was spent interviewing. We didn't do any red carpets, but we did 5 one-on-ones.
But what were some interview highlights for you?
Oh, Lisa, what's your interview highlight?
Oh man, that's tough. Because mine is, once again, 2 are tied. I really loved talking to Bo Burnham about Promising Young Woman, which is a movie that is growing on me since I left the theater. Like, at the end of that movie, I was ready to rage cry. And then the Q&A with after the film with Emerald Fennell, I was like, okay, lady, I see what you're going for. I may be able to forgive you. And now in retrospect, I'm like, I may love that movie. But getting to talk to Bo Burnham, and like we were going in with the strategy of we're going to ask light, fluffy questions, and then we're going to sneak in the theme of the film. Because the theme of the film has a lot to do with culpability in a rape situation. And we just went there right away, and he was super comfortable with it. And so that was crazy.
And Lisa's a huge Bo Burnham fan.
I'm a stand-up fan in general, and like it's hard because I've listened to all of his albums, obviously, and then some long-form interviews on like WTF and You Made It Weird. So I could have gotten there with the angle of I actually know everything about you already.
Yes.
I reread your transcript that you did with Terry Gross, but I didn't. I thought I was very cool. Wasn't I cool, Brad?
Super cool.
It's always tough in that situation. Similar to again. Meeting Ethan, but also meeting Jim Cummings, the writer, director, and star of Thunder Road. There's this part of me that's just like, I'm so happy to engage with this person, and then this disconnected part of my brain that's like, Thunder Road is one of my all-time favorite films.
Yeah.
And this guy is so talented.
Like you said about Jim's like a guy that you feel like he could be here right now.
And hanging out.
You could be hanging out with him. Bo Burnham's the same way.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they both have a very similar... frenetic energy. Yeah. It's funny because Brad turns the interviews into articles, he sends for the Rev transcript, and when he got the transcript, Bo Burnham, when you talk to him, he's so intelligent, he's so alive, but transcribed, he's a mess.
Oh,
It's a
no.
little spasticky. It takes some work.
But it's going to be a great listen.
Yeah, it'll be that'll go up on In the Mouth of Darkness real soon.
Oh, I can't wait to hear it.
That was a highlight for sure. But my second favorite, or tied, and maybe Lisa agrees, was our conversation with the directors of Downhill, Nat Faxon and Jim
That was
Rash.
definitely very cool.
Who, Jim Rash is, he's the guy in Iron Man 3 with the hot dog and the meat chef,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, we're
And
slowly...
he's also the dean of community. But
He also The Way Back.
Yeah,
Which I
both
really
of them.
enjoyed.
Yeah, they both directed The Way Back, and they both wrote The Dissidents together. Not The Dissidents, The Descendants.
Right.
And that was a really cool interview.
It was fun because they also allowed us to talk a little bit about the theme of the film without getting spoilery, which I found really interesting because it is the conflict between two very relatable characters. And on any given day from Downhill, you could relate to Billy, who's Julia Louis-Dreyfus, or you could relate
It's
to
so exciting.
Will
Everybody
Ferrell.
loves Downhill.
They do. Everybody's so excited about it. Yeah.
I wish that was the case because it's a remake of Force Majeure. The
So
Swedish
people are really beaten up on it.
Yeah, and it's not Force Majeure, and it is a slicker, more Hollywood take on that
It's
story.
way shorter.
Yeah, it's 87 minutes. But Will Ferrell and Julie Louis-Dreyfus are killer in it.
Yeah.
And I just don't think you should dismiss it as a remake. As they talk about in the interview, just in casting, you radically alter a film. And so by putting those actors in those roles, it's a different experience. That's why I like Gus Van Sant's Psycho. That's on the record.
Yeah.
Boom.
So what, is that basically top moments, top highlights? What do you think you're taking from this festival in terms of lessons you'll carry on to future Sundances? Maybe things that you discovered this year versus last year?
Well, I think with every Sundance, as much as I hate to say it, I think I will watch less and less movies only because I want to do more and more things. I want to go to parties. I want to go to panels. I want to do even more interviews. We did those 5, and that ate up 3 days.
Right, because they'll schedule them, they schedule them in that second or third slot. You're not seeing the second or third movie.
Yeah.
So there were 2 days where we really got to see the first movie and the last movie.
And so I want to do more interviews. I want to do more reviews. I didn't write any reviews this year. Lisa's written some reviews. I think I'm going to end up writing some post-Sundance reviews.
I might do the same.
For some of my favorites. But yeah, I think that's what I really learned. And this year, Lisa and I, way more social this year.
Oh, great.
Making friends.
We made lots of friends this year. I want to talk about one of my favorite moments of this entire festival was today also.
This was a magic moment.
Yes,
You were there,
yes, I was a
Shawn.
part of this.
We're in the lobby of the Doubletree Hilton, which is across from the P&I screenings.
And I hear a squeal of delight.
Yes.
And she apologized, this beautiful woman, Carolyn.
Carolyn, yes.
She squeals with delight and she apologizes immediately. And I go, no, whatever it was, I am so happy for
Yes.
you.
Clearly, it's something amazing.
And she was like, oh, well, I just found out that Han of Fast and Furious is
back.
alive.
He's back.
Right, and we are sitting with Matt Neglia of the Next Best Picture podcast, and suddenly he's like, yo, let's watch this right now.
I got my laptop, and everyone gathered around.
And there were 6 of us gathered around Matt's laptop, and we watched the F9 trailer, and we were losing our shit. And all the film freaks of Sundance around us, because at the Doubletree, that's where all the bloggers go to write.
Yes.
They're looking at us like we're freaks.
Yes, they're like, we're at Sundance, excuse me?
And we're talking about Dom Toretto and his new brother that we didn't know about, John Cena.
Right.
What the fuck?
That's
That's a damn delight. That's what
was
that
a
is.
wonderful, wonderful moment.
So that's a highlight. And also, when we were in line for, I want to say it was Bad Hair. It might have been something else. This guy comes up to, no, it was Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always, which was a great film and you should watch. A guy comes up to us and goes, hey, is this the Never, Rarely, Sometimes, Always?
I forgot about this moment.
I look over and I'm eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich because we box lunch in here at Sundance.
Right.
And it's Scott Mantz of Collider.
Oh,
Have we not talked about this?
No, but I remember, I think you did mention
I
this.
tweeted it.
Yes.
So I go, oh, Scott Mantz. And he goes, huh? It's like, we've actually met before. And he goes, what? It's like, actually, we've all met before. He's like, what? We went to the Star Trek Beyond IMAX premiere in San Diego at the Comic-Con. We talked after that. And he goes, oh, da, da, da. And we started talking about Star Trek Beyond and how much we love Star Trek Beyond.
Right.
And he goes, Unfortunately, I might be outing Scott Mance here, and I apologize if this is the case. But he goes, unfortunately, you know what's not Star Trek?
Picard.
Right. And Lisa and I lose it. We're like, how dare you?
Excuse me. Lisa lost it. Brad took Mance's side, as is his...
Hold on. I did not take his side. I did not. I was like, oh, really? That's how it went. I didn't just take his side.
I let him do his little speech about how Picard, like how Starfleet is supposed to be this perfect, untouchable thing. That
Utopian ideals.
Yeah, that this institution can maintain itself with this idealistic idea. And I was like, Starfleet is not dead. Starfleet is inside Picard. And we proceeded to argue loudly.
So, the way the lines go in the tents is it's snakes, right?
Yes.
And so he's in one shoot, and we're in one shoot. So every time it's snakes he passes by, he'll quote, like, a line from Star Trek, like, risk is our business. And he is shouting, and everyone around us is looking at us, and he's telling people, like, they don't think of it, So it was beautiful. It was magical.
I wish I could have seen this.
It really was.
I actually might not, because I still haven't seen Picard, so it may have spoiled something for me.
We spoiled something.
That's from the trailer.
Yeah.
It's from the trailer.
Yeah.
I know that the stuff with Starfleet is a little...
Starfleet, well, yeah, I won't say anything.
Okay.
But I say, watch the show. Starfleet is in Picard.
Yeah.
Hope is alive in Picard.
I wrote about this today because I'm doing a weekly column for Film School Rejects.
Plug.
And what I said is Jean-Luc Picard is the Captain America of Star Trek. And Star Trek Picard, the series, is his Winter Soldier film.
Oh, I like that.
You have to challenge the institution. You have to go like, what are my ideals, and is this thing that I love, is this nation, is this fleet the thing that I love, still what I signed up for? And that's what Picard's about.
But literally me and Scott Mance are shouting at each other as the line is moving. And he goes like, I hope that what you say is going to come true. And I'm like, it is, you watch. Mance.
Yeah. So that was a great highlight also.
There is a theme in our marriage of Lisa shouts at men that Brad loves.
That
This
Lisa
happened
shouts
more than once.
at men that don't understand Star Trek.
Yeah, that's true. So that was a highlight outside of the film stuff.
Networking has been like my big thing. Like, it's been so much. It's great to be here, and it's great to report, and it's great to do interviews. But like getting to meet and talk with people, and getting to know people, and going to these things, and going to mixers, meeting not just like people who have films here, but filmmakers who are hoping to get into the festival.
The volunteers. Talk to the volunteers. They're watching movies. They've got opinions.
Yeah.
Everyone around you has an opinion. That's the great thing about a festival is you just go like, what did you just watch and what did you think?
You always have something to talk about.
And it's all these people who love movies and are passionate about it. So you can go into a movie like in a situation and not have people like on their phones, although of course sometimes there are people on their phones. But like you have people who are there for the movie, who are willing to kind of bend and occasionally break to go along with the weirder movies, because it's like we're all film fans here. There's one movie you saw, Brad, that I think both of you saw it, the Cronenberg.
Possessor.
We have to talk about
That
Possessor.
was a fun watching experience.
That sounds like it was the one that made the audiences were like, we're good.
Well, we went to Possessor as part of a public screening, and public screenings are very different because I feel like there are people here that wouldn't call themselves strictly film fans, but they are here for the spectacle.
Yeah.
And public passes are prohibitively expensive. If we didn't get to come as press, we would not be here. And so there is a lot of fur coats, a lot of platinum-haired ladies. And so we go to the screening of Possessor, and it's taking place in the library, which is a very tight...
Oh, this unbearably uncomfortable. Hot as hell. And my right ass cheek fell asleep for half of the movie.
So Possessor is a technological body horror, very much in the Cronenberg spirit.
It looks like his dad made the movie.
Right.
It's
It's
unbelievable.
Cronenberg's son.
Yes.
What's his
Brandon
name?
Brandon
Brandon
Cronenberg. And whatever it is, it's genetic. He's got it. But it's gnarly. It's the most violent thing I've seen here by far.
No way this shows up at an AMC cut as it is. Many shots are going to be removed from this film.
But
I loved it.
I enjoyed it very much as well, though I found it a little disturbing.
The general premise is Andrea Riseborough is an assassin who has her consciousness uploaded into unwilling participants.
Right. So they kidnap Christopher Abbott and put Andrea Riseborough into his brain, and he fights back.
And that's all you need to know.
And that's the movie.
And it's crazy violent. And it gets weird.
And it's trippy.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's gorgeous. The transportation transformation scene is one of the most beautiful things I've seen. Graphic, experimental, practical. There's practical effects in it. It's really awesome. But during this movie, we just see people get up and get out, which is kind of normal. But then, like, the chit-chat in the line to the ladies' room was like just a bunch of ladies going, I was not expecting it to be that. Did you overhear any?
No, I was talking with all the dudes who were like, yeah, bro. That was violent.
That ladies' room line, it's just like a bunch of women trying to, like, converse about, like, what did we go through just then?
Let's try to understand and process this film.
Brandon Cronenberg directed Antiviral before this, which is solid and feels like his dad's kind of thing. Yeah. But Possessor, it's another level.
Was there anything you guys saw that you didn't enjoy?
Oh boy.
My least favorite is The Glorias. I hate to say it. Julie Taymor's biopic about Gloria Steinem. And one of my main issues with biopics is they try to encompass an entire person's life. And then also, I think this is very much dependent on My Life on the Road, her book. And so some of the dialogue sounds like, they're trying to shoehorn in little facts about Gloria Steinem. So, like, for me, the moment that typifies, there's two that typify what the Glorias was to me. One of them is, we have the dad. Who played the dad again?
I'm blanking on his name.
You can IMDb it.
Yeah.
He's very recognizable. But he calls, damn it, and the dog runs up, and the dog's name is Damn It. And, like, I got it. The dog's name is Damn It. How quirky is this dad? But then,
Timothy Hutton.
Thank you. But then the teenage daughter goes like, oh, Dad, it embarrasses me that you named our dog Damn It. And I'm like, why are you explaining that to me?
Yeah.
And then...
That reminds me of Across the Universe, a movie I don't like, where, like, everything is like, oh, where did you come from? She came in through the bathroom window, and it's like, oh, it's a Beatles song.
It's just like,
I get it.
You can't write with a shoehorn.
Yes.
and then there is, like, some fantastical elements, but they're woven in with a complete lack of grace.
Yeah.
And so there's, like, this one moment where an interviewer asks Gloria Steinem an offensive question, and then all of a sudden you hear the music from Wizard of Oz, and then, like, Gloria Steinem turns into a witch, and, like, there's this whole, like, fantasy sequence.
Everything turns blood red.
It was just absolutely bizarre.
But very Julie Taymor.
Right.
Yeah, but it looked like it looked unfinished.
Yeah, it looked cheap as hell.
And then, like, the way it was just dropped into the movie, it just was not well done. It just felt...
Yeah, that was one of my least favorite films, and I was super pumped to see it because I love the cast. I love Julie Taymor. Across the Universe and the Glorias, notwithstanding. My big disappointment was the new Dee Reese film that's coming out on Netflix, The Last Thing He Wanted, with Anne Hathaway, Willem Dafoe, Ben Affleck. And it is just... Lisa keeps using the word impenetrable. The screenplay's impenetrable. I have no idea what's going on.
Abstruse as F.
Yeah.
Abstruse.
Yeah. It's not good. Great performances. It looks nice, but it's super dull and very confusing. I don't know.
Although you already know what my least favorite movie is, which is the one we just watched, Shirley, which is the only movie I didn't enjoy out of the festival. But
you didn't even like being in that chair. You were like,
no,
when were you out?
I was out pretty early on with that movie. Like I was I knew pretty early when the movie felt like it very early on. It's like, I think you're doing this, but also I don't know what you're doing. And then I also didn't know, is this a horror film? Because sometimes it would get really creepy, and then it wouldn't go in that direction. And then I was so at a certain point early on, I was like, I'm not engaged in the story or characters, and if I'm not engaged now, I know I'm not going to be.
I liked it a lot more than you did.
Yes.
I didn't love it. I did not dislike it. And I thought Elizabeth Moss as Shirley Jackson was fantastic in the film. I thought the look of the film was attractive. Michael Stuhlbarg's really good as her husband. I think it's a little dull in places, but I enjoyed the watch.
I'm with you in that I feel like it threw out a lot of ideas that I think could have been taken further.
Yeah.
Early in the film, we see Shirley read, I forget the character's name, Rosie, reads Rosie's tarot cards, and she does some spells. I'm like, ooh, maybe she's some kind of supernatural witch thing.
And there's lots of weird hallucinations.
They make allusions to her being some kind of prophet.
Yes.
But then that never really plays out.
Yeah.
And so it didn't really commit to any one idea. And I think that was but I still liked elements of it.
Yeah,
I gave it a 3.
And they hint at interesting dynamics for the relationship of Shirley and the female character. And then don't pay it off. So it's a lot of ideas, and then at the very end of the movie, it's kind of like, okay, now this is what the whole thing was about.
Right.
And it was like, that's too little, too late.
I don't know, really knowing what the movie's about, I think a second watch would be interesting, but I'm not going to do it for a while.
Right. But as far as this experience goes, it sounds like we all have amazing things to take away from it. Is there anything else we haven't touched on that you has been really, really awesome or special about this experience?
As somebody who fantasized about Sundance for at least his entire teenage life, to finally be here in Park City, to take your selfie in front of the Egyptian, and to have conversations like this one that we're having in the Boneyard, it means a lot to me. And I talked about this on our In the Mouth of Dorcas podcast last year. It is a surreal experience, but yet meaningful experience. I've always wanted to be here, and I'm so glad that I am. And while it does cost a lot of money to get here, I would recommend it to the people who can afford to do so. Yeah. It is a solid festival. It's not, a lot of people who are here in the heyday are like, it's not as good as it used to be. It's the same crap you hear about Comic-Con.
Right.
But if you just come and be in the moment, strategize and just put yourself in front of the silver screen and take it in, it's beautiful.
I love being energized by this atmosphere. You really do get the sense that you are where it happens, where it is happening, where creatives are talking to other creatives and something is going to come from them. And I'm a person who puts a lot of limitations on herself. I am shy. I am embarrassed to put my work out sometimes. But being in a place like this that really pushes me outside of my boundaries makes me feel like, okay, after Sundance, I want to continue with this momentum. I want to maintain connections with these people. I want to push myself even further. So to me, I find this a super motivational atmosphere.
Yeah, I agree completely. I think as someone who aspires to be a filmmaker and a screenwriter, being around these people and hearing their stories and feeling this energy of it's not easy.
You look at a director and you go well, that person did it,
yes,
and they are flesh and bone.
Exactly. So you start to feel like I can get some friends together and do something like this.
1,000%.
It's not as simple as that, but also it is as simple as that. So there's this energy of like, not only for me personally, not only getting to be a part of it and getting to communicate with you beautiful people and everyone here, but this sense of like, now I want to be contributing something.
Yeah.
And
It really
like,
refills that creative well.
Exactly.
When you get under the tents of the P&I with the working press and general press, and you see people who are 20 years old, 18 years old, hustling in this environment, who, everybody wants to be making movies or writing about films and has their own YouTube page or their own podcast or whatever. When you get into a sea of thousands of like-minded people, I wish I had gotten into this environment when I was their age. Like I wish when I was 18, I wish I was here. Yeah. Because for my entire 20s and most of my 30s, I was like, this is not attainable. And it's so attainable, like Lisa said.
The bar is so low for people like us. We can just walk
It's
right
perfect.
over it.
It's so easy.
Act now.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
make your dreams happen.
agreed. I don't think it gets much better than that. So that's that. Thank you both so much. And I want to hear all about where I can find you two on the internet and all about your beautiful podcast, which is going to have so much amazing stuff coming out. So tell me about it.
Well, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Sidewalk Siren. If you want to read some of my reviews are aftermoviediner.com. And the beautiful interviews that we're doing, you can find on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. Search ITMODcast, ITMOD, Chatcast, one word, CHATCAST. That'll take you to it, and you'll get to hear our interviews we did here, our interviews that we did at Fantastic Fest.
Bong Joon-ho, Takashi Miike.
Yeah, we've really, we've hit some benchmarks in the past few months, so it's really
absolutely.
exciting.
You can find me on all social medias at MouthDork. Find my writings and a lot of those interviews also at Film School Rejects. InTheMouthOfDarkness.com is a website. It's very basic, but you can find all our podcasts there as well. Lisa and I also have a comic book podcast called the Comic Book Couples Counseling Podcast. We are also recording episodes from the road in that channel. We're focusing on Rogue and Gambit of the Uncanny X-Men, so please take a look at that.
I agree. Take a look at all of it. Thank you both so much. I love you. You're beautiful.
Oh,
thank you for being here at the Yard at Sundance.
Yeah, Boneyard.
Boneyard.